All right, everybody, welcome. We are back for another exciting week of SpeedRunsLive Season 2. This is it, the final regular season week. Pretty exciting. It's been a great regular season, and we're winding down the regular season and getting ready for the playoffs. But first, we've got to do our Week 9 game. It's going to be pretty exciting. So, as always, joined every week, my faithful companion, Boney. Boney, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Glad to have you here. So yeah, we've had this going for 9 weeks, but I'm sure there may be a person or two here who is not sure what this is. So, Boney, what is SpeedRunsLive Season 2?
Yep. This is going to be a weird explanation because there's nothing to detail coming next week. I don't know what to do. But yeah, we are at the end of the main phase of our season. Basically, the way this whole thing worked is we gave everyone a week to learn a new game each week. Basically, how we would reveal a game, and they would have just 1 week to practice and grind as much as they possibly could, and kind of prepare for the upcoming race that following weekend. And we just repeated that pattern for a while. Reveal a game, give them a week, they race, and so on and so on. Yep, we're at the end now. This is the final week. No reveal at the end of this stream, so that's really sad. But playoffs are coming soon, so we have that to look forward to. And yeah, this is the final one. This is the last game, and what better game to use than Kirby's Dream Course?
I mean, I guess that's one way of putting it. This is quite a game. This is going to be very interesting to see how our competitors do. I did hype up Rocket Knight Adventures last week as being like the game that you never know what's gonna happen. This one for sure, you have no idea what's gonna happen. Like our 4 competitors could probably finish like 30 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Have no idea.
Very true.
So without further ado, let's introduce our commentator for this week, Swordsman Kirby. SK, welcome.
Hello.
So Kirby's Dream Course. Tell me something about this game that maybe we're not familiar with. What should we expect out of this interesting game?
Well, it's a golf game, and maybe you've seen other people do like golf speedruns, like NES golf and stuff like that. But I would say that this is a much more controlled game compared to other golf games. Basically, mid-shot you can do stuff like this is a Kirby game, so there are these copy abilities that can affect your trajectory. So actually, each like every single hole is very carefully routed out, and you can play it very precisely.
Yeah. So yeah, talk to me about I guess the aspect of the fact that there are abilities. Like how significant are those abilities when kind of routing out or just kind of getting through each hole?
Sometimes it'll involve keeping abilities for across multiple holes. But in general, there are a couple different abilities, and the route makes I would say full use of the strengths of each ability. So there's stuff like for example, stone, which allows you to essentially stop in place. So if you're flying over a hole, you can drop straight into the hole. So it sort of focuses your movement a little bit.
Gotcha. Now, when I think of golf, right? I think of this game. I've played this casually before, and I look at it and say well, there's not really much in the way of randomness in the game.
Right.
It's pretty set. So why is it that this game could potentially then trip up the competitors if there's really not much randomness to expect?
Yeah. So I think there's literally no randomness in this game whatsoever. But basically, maybe you're just slightly late or slightly early on something in your shot, and something goes completely wrong. You're in the completely wrong place, and I don't know, doing backups can cost you a lot of time, especially if you lose your ability in the process, for example.
Gotcha.
So there are plenty of places where things can go horribly wrong, and recovering is not not clear what to do.
Gotcha. Now, Boney, I know you must have had a motivation for picking this game. Why? I know Kirby's good, but why Kirby's Dream Course?
I love golf, man. I love golf games. Yeah, I just had to do something weird like this. So I guess to my bias aside, the real reason was I wanted to end with a weird genre type of game, just something that would throw people for a loop, and do something that would really just require more adaptation than anything. Because I mean, we kind of alluded to it already, but There's a very strict route and approach to basically all your shots in this game, but as soon as you mess one up, which is really easy to do, you just need to figure out what the heck you did wrong and try to recover in any way possible. So it's not just about memorizing the entire route, but you need to be prepared just for anything and try to figure out how to fix it. And I think that's a good test for pretty much everything these players have been put through for 8 weeks now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what to expect. So I believe we have a video or two to show off. Is that correct?
Yep, we do have one kind of long video, and this one will be actually a bit different than the past. These aren't really strats you'll be seeing in the run. This is kind of just going to be more of a background video to show off how crazy and cool this game can be. This is provided by Rob Dog, and it's going to be a showcase of course 8, which is the final course in the game, and it's just going to be a hole-in-one on every hole. So it'll kind of give you a feel for the mechanics at the very least, and we'll just kind of explain other facets of the game while we show this off, and just enjoy. It's a good watch. This is probably the best one. Alright, so feel free to explain anything else interesting you can think of, SK, regarding this game, or...
Yeah, so there's this. So what Rob Dog is this like high score challenge. It's even though okay, it sounds like you're doing hole-in-ones. It sounds very fast, but a lot of these are definitely sort of roundabout ways of doing it, just so you can get like the best possible score. And there's this I guess pretty well-known tool-assisted speedrun, which aims to get like hole-in-ones on as many holes as possible. And this getting like these, I guess, routing and getting all these hole-in-ones took Rob Dog like hundreds and hundreds of attempts to do. And I guess the main mechanic here is that there are these different enemies that you need to run over. And what happens when you get to the last one is that it disappears and turns into a hole. And so sometimes the choice of that is very natural, depending on how the stage is laid out. Other times it's a little bit more contrived, and like sometimes the routing, depending on what ability you want, will change which order of enemies you kill them in.
What is he doing?
It's so cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and so mid-shot you can start using your abilities, or you can do these things called boosts, which if you do it against the wall, you sort of bounce off of it harder, or if you do it on a bounce, then you like bounce harder. And so timing these boosts, I would say, is a really, really crucial part of the speedrun, not just in this hole-in-one challenge, but also in real-time speedruns. And we'll get into like what can you do faster in real time when we get to the race.
Yeah, this is insane. Just kind of see like how everything works. Now, I had a question about the ability where like you kind of like make Kirby like bigger. I don't remember what button you press to do that, but what does that do exactly?
So that's the boost thing I was referring to. It sort of, when you do it just rolling on the ground, it preserves your speed a little bit longer. And if you do it off of a bounce, you bounce off a little bit harder on that enemy, or sorry, on that surface.
Gotcha. So even when you're like not bouncing off a wall or anything, it's still kind of making you boost a little bit in speed, or?
Yeah, so it's like I believe like it's like preserving your speed a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
But there are some weird things, like if you're rolling downhill and you use it, it actually slows you down, for example. So all sorts of weird quirks. And yeah, in stage 8 you're gonna see like a lot of these different abilities shown off. Like right now this is Tornado. Previously you saw a bunch of high jump and wheel usage. And basically each time you run into an enemy with an ability, you get that ability and you can use it once on that particular shot.
How much slower are hole-in-ones usually?
I mean, a lot of these shots that Rob Dog is doing now are really contrived, but in general, there's like what you'll see at the beginning of the run is that they'll sort of do like a 0 power shot, and then do like a hole-in-one strat. Like even doing something like that, like wasting an extra shot, saves around 1.5 seconds because you skip that like hole-in-one fanfare with the fireworks.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate that you're robbed of that animation just to go fast. But I mean, you gotta go fast, right? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Very important. I love the UFO. This thing is just stupidly broken.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you miss the UFO at any point, that's catastrophic. You just gotta restart the hole or something.
Yeah, I'm just like looking at this hole. It's like, what do you even do if you don't have a UFO?
Cry.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, this is just so fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I can't believe he's getting hole in
so
ones.
mind-blowing.
I can't believe he's getting so many hole in ones. Is every hole in this game possible to hole in one?
No, it is not actually. There are, I believe, so there's like normal mode and extra mode courses. In normal mode, I believe there's 1 hole or 2 holes that cannot be done in hole in one.
Yeah, I think it's 2 based on what he was saying.
And it's sort of for like trivial reasons, like the stage is just like too big to get a hole in one in.
Ah, okay, I gotcha.
But maybe someone will come up with a way of doing it. Who knows?
Hey, that strat of the second hole where you just like gain speed like forever. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, so it was a big project of Rob Dog's to get like the optimal score, the best known score on each of these courses for normal mode.
That's pretty cool.
Can we watch the 8-1 again? I want to see that again. That's my favorite one. I just want to see it. I saw like 50 PogChamps in chat, so I know I'm not the only one.
All right. I think we could see
All right.
the first one, just for the honey.
We did it for the people. I do want to mention one thing though. Like, I want to stress how seriously Rob Dog takes this game. I'm gonna link his paste bin in chat that kind of details the entire route, and I just want everyone to open this up and just kind of drag your cursor through it and see how long it is.
You don't have to read it, because by the time you're finished reading it, we'll probably be done with broadcasting for today.
There are like 10 minutes of mechanic explanations, and then after that, it goes on to like between 3 and 5 different strategies for every single hole in the game, and it's just absolutely insane. I keep calling this the final exam of Season 2, because it's just so much to memorize. But the guy's crazy. He puts in so much work, and you gotta appreciate it. He definitely loves this game.
Alright, it's 8-1, just for you, Bonnie.
Here we go. This is it. It's just so good.
Chat comment saying that's a book. I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. This hole in particular is actually pretty tough from what I was watching in yesterday's race. If you miss that first enemy, it can be pretty annoying to finish the hole, because you gotta warp back up to it after you get the other enemies, and it can be tricky to actually get in without falling all the way down again.
Right. When I was doing runs of this game, I would just, if I missed like the beginning, I would just reset.
My god, that 8-1 is
Sounds
just the special. Alright, so yeah, that's our gameplay video. Appreciate Rob Dog taking the time to make that. And yeah, let's, without further ado, kind of introduce the competitors. So obviously we talked about Rob Dog. He is the current world record holder. I don't know what else to say. The guy is pretty good at this game.
Yeah, he'll win, but I'll just spoil it now. But it's fine. We have a good reference. Yeah, we have a good reference to what the game looks like at a high level, and we'll kind of check out how the other 3 players just picked this game up over the week. Because again, there's a lot of stuff to memorize, but even beyond that, if you forget things, you need to just learn how to adapt and deal with the game, because it's really easy to mess up.
Or just look up the basement.
Or that. Yeah, I know Alpha 5 in last night's race. He just read the paste bin as he played it. He actually streamed the paste bin scrolling as he went through the route, so
That's right. That's good. All right. So yeah, that kind of pretty much explains, we believe, what you need to know going into this race. So we are going to go ahead and take a quick break as we get set up for the race. So the race is going to. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Forgot about the leaderboards.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, these are the standings. The standings of SpeedRunsLive Season 2. So the top 16 are the people that are moving on to the playoffs. So it's pretty set at this point. I don't know if anybody in the 17th to 20th place are racing this week. I don't know if you can clarify that, Boney.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's basically established at this point, unless they sneak in last second. So those top 16, those are most likely who we'll be seeing about 2 weeks and 3 weeks as well. They'll be our players, and it's gonna be good. We'll get into playoffs a bit later in the stream once we
Yep.
finish up and kind of explain how it's all gonna work. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So our 2nd through 6th place competitors are competing. As you can see some of them on our stream. So definitely one of those could like potentially move up for a spot or two, depending on how they do.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, see how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead,
You're
Benny.
good. No, it's not important. I was just gonna say that our featured players have been putting quite a bit of work in this week, so they could conceivably pass Joe and Pika Pals if they perform really well. So who knows? Those spots are all up for grabs. I think. I think Ramses is on lock, but everyone else is competing.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said before, I forgot about the leaderboard. We'll be taking a quick break. I'm just gonna go ahead and get set up for the race. The race is starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, so at about 11 minutes or 10 minutes from now. So go ahead, stick around as we wait and get ready for that, and we will be back shortly with the race for this week. All right, everybody, welcome back to Thinking Face Emoji, the game.
Oh man, ACM's thinking face is so good.
That's
the heck,
amazing.
dude?
That's mind blowing.
So that was our proof call to our competitors
Yeah.
to make sure they're not playing a pre-recorded video. We asked them to draw some thinking faces.
Yep.
Pretty good if you.
I think we made a good choice. Yeah. Wow, I'm so impressed. Can this be the race instead? Best thinking face? Alright. Okay, moving on. Alright, here we go. Dream course. It's time to race and erase our thinking faces. Ah, so sad.
So yes, Kirby's Dream Course. Let's take it away, folks.
Alright, so on the first hole, you're going to see them do like a 0 power shot, you can see on Rob Dog's screen. And while the hole-in-one strategy is pretty straightforward, it's just that they want to skip that like fanfare animation that you're seeing in the hole-in-one video. Oh, I guess ACM is electing to go hole-in-one. Yeah, as you can see, like his transition screen is going to be longer than the other players.
Style points. Sometimes you just want to be cool. So would you say the first couple courses are all pretty simple? It's hard to make big mistakes.
Yeah, I'd say so. At least for like most holes. Some of them they could go a little bit wrong, but I think most of them are pretty straightforward.
Mhm. Yeah, there are definitely some really difficult holes just kind of strewn about throughout the game, so definitely right.
So I believe what Rob Dog is doing is a relatively new idea of grabbing high jump at the end of this first stage. Oh, fortunately he missed that shot. And so there's, I guess, like some routing that you can do in the first stage involving these power-ups. And the most recent one, I think, like it's much harder than I guess the one that's been detailed in the pace bin, but it saves a couple seconds, and every second matters.
How many power-ups are in this game anyway? Curious about that.
I don't know the exact number. There's got to be at least like 6 of them.
Okay. It feels like there are so many, but I think that's just because they come from so many different enemies. Alright, so yeah, pretty simple stuff so far. I think most of our new players will even not be too far behind Romp Dog, although he's clearly sinking really hard shots, so he's pulling ahead already. Yeah, it's going to get much more difficult later on. All these stages are kind of straightforward for now. Even linear-ish, which is unusual. Alright, Rob Dog is doing one of the first cool strats of the game, I think. Gonna see some cool parasol action here.
Big fan.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't seen any big mistakes yet either so far, so that's good. At least our newer players are comfortable with World 1. That's a good start.
I mean, I guess with World 1, there doesn't seem to be like a lot of like areas for like major mistakes. Obviously, you know, you lose time taking an extra shot, but other than that, like in terms of like power-ups, it's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so if it's not too obvious, you can kind of skip across the water there if you just inflate your little Kirby ball as you roll across and time it right. Bro Edgeman did not do that. He sank, so that cost some time for sure.
Yeah, so I think the 8th hole of the first course can be a little bit tricky. But in a couple instances, like the parasol movement allows you to control more carefully where you land if you've kept parasol this entire time. I think Rob Dog ended up not doing his high jump strat. He was saying like, oh, like there's like 1 week to 1 week to prepare for this race, but he said it would take him like 2 weeks to do everything that he really wanted to
Yeah,
get done.
sounds right.
Yeah, if you saw a pace bin earlier, that's like an essay on Kirby's Dream Course speedrunning.
That's like an encyclopedia, not an essay.
Alright, so on Jackazam's screen, we're kind of seeing that idea of you avoid the hole-in-one animation, and you'll actually save time if you just kind of burn your first shot and go like an inch.
And you'll see like after the 8th hole, sometimes they actually will go for a hole-in-one, and it doesn't lose time because once you sink your shot, you can immediately reset the game, and then that'll count as having completed. If you let that play out, there's like a really long high score screen, anyways. So it's safe to go for hole-in-ones in the last hole without losing any time.
Seems like Barrageman's doing an alternate strat for this hole compared to what the other competitors are doing.
Huh? I think he missed the first shot.
Okay, because it seemed like the other competitors were just doing a very small shot to like not go anywhere, but like he did extra power, so I wasn't sure what that was about.
Oh, okay. I think maybe he was trying to do like the first shot, get some enemies, and then land like really close to the hole, and then just like tap in.
Gotcha.
Alright, so there we go on Rob Dog's screen. We're kind of seeing the power of how inflating is just so abusable and really gets you some extra distance. I don't think you're, in a way, you're not intended to get to the hole just by bouncing all the way back from that shot, but time all your inflations right. It's not that bad. It's actually really doable.
Yeah, this wheel strat, like bouncing off the wall like that Rob Dog's doing right now, is one of my favorite strats in Course 2. Lands you up perfectly for all the remaining enemies.
You keep your power as long as you don't die or switch it, right? Swap
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah, but you only use it once per shot.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, like if you run into other enemies with abilities, it'll replace whatever ability you have currently. And so I don't think it comes really into play here, but I think like in some of the later courses it will.
Yeah, for UFOs especially, like you need to make sure you attain those and actually keep them, because it's such a huge time save.
So in this hole that Rob Dog's on, requires you to move a little bit quickly. There's like that black spiky enemy, I believe it's the Gordo, I don't know.
Yep, Gordo is correct.
That's moving around, and you can't really like dawdle on that stage. Alright, so we're gonna see Rob Dog go for a hole-in-one on hole 8. This one's kind of a weird hole. Like there are a lot of different power levels that work, but then some that mysteriously don't work. Alright, so I luckily got the hole-in-one for that one.
So how does the reset work? Does it like automatically save your progress, but you can only do it like at the beginning?
Right, yeah. So there's no saving in the middle of a course of any kind. But like the moment you sink it in, you can reset. It'll consider you as having completed the course and allow you to move on to the next course.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the one hole that, or one of the 2 holes that you can't get a hole-in-one in, just because you have to keep moving up, so you can't just like bounce indefinitely. So, well, the two shot strategy is pretty straightforward. So here are these little conveyor belts. Here, Rob Dog is electing to go in this order. Making sure not to kill the middle enemy first, because all the other, like all 3 enemies in that row have an ability. And so he wants to make sure he ends the level with Parasol, the enemy in the middle. And it's going to allow him to control his position for the next couple of holes. So right here, he's going to stop the Parasol and he'll skid to a stop, like sort of right along the hole right there. So normally when you like start your shot, you'll be pointing at some like 45-degree angle. And so that allows you to like sort of know exactly which direction you're going to be shooting in.
Can you actually kill the Krakow? I'm kind of curious.
No.
Dang.
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, Rob Dog missed the conveyor belt just by a little bit. He's gonna go for a really hard shot here. Oh wow. Okay, maybe this is all intentional.
That's crazy.
Oh, nice.
What a backup.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's like the new strategy. Like back when I was writing this game, I'd just get random PMs from Rob Dog with like new strats. He's just like, while you're active in this game, you'll get all the updates. I'm like, all right.
So what's your time in this game, SK?
I have a 37 something. I forget.
Pretty respectable.
Yeah, like there are people like Tanuki in chat and like Rob Dog. They went insane on this game.
They both have 34s?
Rob Dog is a 33.59, so
Oh.
barely sub 34.
So like, how much time are we talking? Like when you're at like a very high level, like Rob Dog and Tanuki are, like how much time is just making one mistake? Like especially in, like the later levels.
I mean, I don't know. I can't really say. I'm not like a good judge of that. Like even stuff like the ball hanging on like the lip of the hole for like a little bit will matter to these guys.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But I guess you know I didn't mean for like a specific answer, but like more like in a general sense. Like, can you lose like 30 seconds for just making a mistake? Can you lose like a minute? Like.
No, you can't lose like that much time. I think Rob Dog's PB has this one mistake, one pretty big mistake in in course 6. But besides that, like, it's just like small mistakes.
Okay.
This is a crazy hole-in-one strat that I never understood.
Oh my god, it's incredible.
Just waiting, I'm waiting. Oh, so cool. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
even when I was
this
running
game's
the game,
cool.
I didn't go for stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, it's just surprising how much you can abuse that mechanic. Really just a few mechanics in this game. Way more shots are possible than you would ever imagine until you see them yourself.
So with the tornado, you have full control, is that correct?
Yeah, you get to control pretty much just left and right of where you're going. Like you're going in some straight line, but you can like turn left and right while in tornado form. Sort of the same as Parasol. But one thing you can do is that when you go, like, you can sort of preserve it by going downhill on your shots.
Do you think Tornado is probably the best power-up in the game that isn't UFO?
That isn't UFO. I guess it's all like situational, but Tornado is pretty useful, especially if you like. There's this big divergence in strategy for course 7. I think like Tornado plays a big role if you don't go the UFO route.
Okay. Is there like a no UFO category? That'd actually be kind of interesting.
Oh man, is Jack assuming to get over? Okay, he did. Oh no, he didn't!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
For me, that was like one of the holes where you could lose a lot of time. If your like angle is just wrong, like things can go really badly in that level. Just because there's a lot of water for that level.
That was
Yeah,
a good recovery.
though.
Yeah. Getting out of the water can be surprisingly hard.
Did we talk about the tomato system?
Not yet.
We should probably talk about that then.
Yeah, so you have 4 health represented by your tomatoes. Each time you hit an enemy, each time you take a shot, you lose 1 health. And each time you hit an enemy, you gain 1 health. And what happens when you're at 2 or less health is that Kirby starts doing this like sort of crying animation. And especially if you're at like 1 health, this is like a big waste of time. And some of the holes are routed in such a way that you're hitting like essentially 1 enemy per shot. So you just like continue doing the crying animation after every single shot.
Game overs are actually quite easy in this game before you get pretty good at it, so it's something to watch out for newer players. I know some of them had quite a few when they were practicing, so hopefully they don't have that issue anymore, because it definitely can lose a lot of time.
Yeah, I remember playing this game as a kid. This game was like absolutely impossible to score.
Yeah. I did not beat this, and I played it a lot. I remember that.
Yeah, so we're seeing two different abilities that allow you to sort of stop in place, needle and stone. So the way that stone works is that you drop, like you lose like all your horizontal speed and you drop, and you also slide off of slopes. But for needle, you keep going if you're in the air, and you also stick to slopes. Alright, so here's another crazy hole-in-one strategy for hole 8.
The speed!
I like it. The one stone.
There's just, I don't even know what to say about it. It's so fascinating to watch. I wish every hole was like that, but the game's pretty impressive already, so it's okay.
Yeah, there's also another category that's like that aims to get gold medals on every single course, and so for some of them you will be seeing like hole-in-one strategies.
Nice. Is it just like a fixed stroke count that you need to meet?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the way that, for example, course 1 is routed, you will like if you're like not aiming for hole-in-ones on every single hole, you're not going to get to the gold medal. So you do have to take these hole-in-one shots in places.
Yeah, that sounds hard.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. It took me a while just to get gold medals casually, even after having run the game.
Man, you know, it doesn't even seem like our other 3 competitors are really making a lot of major mistakes, but Rob Dog is just like literally a course ahead of some of these guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah, they're actually playing quite well. I don't think anyone's taken a death yet or really got trapped anywhere. Obviously playing with a bit more strokes and not going for these crazy shots, but definitely holding up to their route pretty well, and I think they should be satisfied with how they're doing. Game's gonna get harder though, gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah, would you say the difficulty kind of like ramps up like exponentially going into the later courses?
Yeah, I think starting with course 5 or 6, it starts to get pretty annoying.
Rob Dog is in 5 right now, right?
Yes.
Is this one of the ones he can't get a hole-in-one on? Seems like it is.
I don't think it's this one. Actually, let me check.
Oh my god, how do you even hold it?
Yeah, how does that work? Alright, I think, so Pro Edgeman and ACM are about tied right now. I think Jack Zam is like a hole or 2 ahead of them. So we do have a very close race between the other racers. Yeah, this is good. I'm a bit surprised it's as close as it is, just because of how volatile this game is, but
I guess we haven't seen course 6 and beyond yet, so.
that's true, you're not wrong.
Hole on Rob Dog is on right now is a big killer for me. It's very easy to bounce off these slopes in the wrong way and fall to your death. And so I would characterize like really high level play as like these strategies where like there's like the power meter and there are different, like each frame is like a different power that you can get. And I would say like each of them, like consecutive frames, would have like completely different strategies after you take your shot in terms of when you boost and when you use abilities. And like these like sort of divergences in the strategies, like where it just like made my head spin.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, these this sort of like consecutive sequence, like 5, 5 through 5-7 can be quite annoying. Oh yeah, 5-8 as well. This is another course where, like, if you do the hole-in-one correctly, everything looks great. But if you mess it up just like a little bit, things can go really, really wrong.
Isn't that every hole?
Yeah, but this one in particular
Yeah.
can go really badly. All right, so get a slow roll off that slope and then get
That's
dumped
good.
into the hole.
Very nice. Alright, so on to 6 for Rob Dog. Yeah, Jack Zam definitely has a lead. He just entered 5. The other 2 are very close.
Yeah, both Benjamin and ACM are on hole 8.
That one's so satisfying to watch. It doesn't even seem terribly hard. It's cool. A lot of bouncing around.
Yeah, some of these stages are very it's like very linear. You don't really need to have to aim, and sort of like by design gets you to where you're going.
We had a question in chat. Does anyone even have a chance of catching up to Rob at this point?
No.
So Rob has played this game for multiple years, and everyone else has played this game for a week. So I'll answer your question with that. But if his game crashes, who knows?
It's true.
Hopefully that won't happen. We do have a really cool hole coming up soon on Rob Dog's feed. I think it's 6-5, I want to say. I told him he needs to go for a strat. I don't know if he will, but hopefully he listens, because it's very cool.
Oh, that's so sick. I love bouncing up on the spikes there. So, like, the spikes, like, bouncing you isn't really random, it's just based on how your momentum is.
Right. There's also this other weird thing in this game, like some people call it like water bounce memory. I don't exactly know how it works, but it has to do with the way that the game calculates how you're going to bounce off the water if you do a jump shot. And so sometimes you'll, like, if you don't do it correctly, you'll just seemingly just sink for no reason. It has to do with like the last time you were jumping over water.
Alright, so here's the stage here.
Yes.
So if you do this correctly, you can go very fast and basically get a hole in 2, but it's very easy to mess up.
Oh my god!
Oh, alright, okay. So he saved it. He saved it.
Unfortunately, it didn't go the way that Rob Dog intended. And so like in Rob Dog's like 3359, he makes a similar mistake, and that hole is not easy to do right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do it perfectly, you'll end up on the conveyor belt, and you'll basically cancel your super fast momentum with your jump and just go straight in the hole. But it's very hard, and fortunately he saved it and was able to save his Kirby life by just jumping. You can kind of just go flying into the abyss if you don't do that. So that actually went quite well overall.
Jack is unfortunately falling off of 5-6. This is a hole that is just really, really annoying, and it'd be really nice to keep high jump. Unfortunately, he lost it by dying.
Oh yeah, I see.
This is unrelated to the speedrun, but I am just so happy with how this game's sound design is. I don't know if I like sounds more in any other game more than this one. Every single sound is so satisfying. So I think ACM and Bro Edgeman might have caught up a bit to Jack Azam, but I'm not positive. Definitely in World 6 somewhere. So Jack Azam finished.
Yeah, I think
Bro Edgeman's like one back.
Yeah, one or two holes back right now.
Pretty close.
Yeah, tornado maybe doesn't control as finely as one would want, so it doesn't like turn as sharply as you would want. So the hole that ACM is on right now can be very, very finicky.
Yeah, it's very useful for getting places, but I agree. It seems pretty hard to actually master and do it exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, this hole is all about sort of chaining these different tornadoes together. And if one of them goes wrong, it's like really slow to back it up. Alright, so now we're on World 7, or Course 7 for Rob Dog, and this is the big UFO routing. And basically when you enter the UFO ability, it preserves whatever speed you're moving at now, so you're going to see like really, really fast speeds out of the UFO. And it's done by doing a boost off of slopes in a lot of places.
And obviously, considering how broken UFO is, you want to keep it as long as you can, so a lot of the stages are just routed around getting the power-up enemies. You know, if you have two different power-up enemies in the same stage, you kind of have to get them, but if there's only one, you'd always want to make that hole so you can keep your UFO as long as you can. And yeah, I think we'll be seeing mostly UFO for the rest of the run. Well, maybe not mostly, but a good amount of it. Unless something goes horribly wrong. Yeah, it's very good. Very good power-up.
I just love looking at some of the holes and seeing like how it's like deliberately designed for you to like do it this way and to see it like executed like the course 6 hole 1.
So I think ACM fell a bit behind. He did have a bit of an issue with one of the last couple holes.
Better than getting a good backup on course 6. Or, sorry, 5-8.
Alright, so now we say bye to UFO for now. Again, that hole had too many power-up enemies in it, so you can't really do anything about it. You just have to override your UFO with something.
And this is probably one of my favorite holes, especially in course 7. Bonk off Wispy Woods, and then this next shot, you don't have to do the high jump, but it definitely saves time because the conveyor belt's moving very slowly.
Okay. Ah, yeah, that's fancy. I like it. How many of the remaining holes are UFO holes, do you think?
2.5, I guess.
Okay, that's not many. That's
Yeah.
good.
So 8-6, 8-7, and a short part of 8-8.
Okay. I'm really just impressed by your new runners. They have not made a whole bunch of mistakes so far, from what it seems like. They're doing really well. They might all PB. I think Jackazam had the best time of our new players as far as I know. Like a 45 something.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems quite good, but it's so hard to compare. You know, when you
Right.
look at Rob Dog's like 33.59 or whatever. That's a big gap there, but even the other pretty good runners of this game are a few minutes behind that.
Yeah, now we're gonna see the speedrun strats for World 8. The first shot's kind of the same. You sort of fly off at an angle for the first shot.
Simple enough.
And no
I like the
crazy
other one more.
bouncing.
But I understand.
Yeah, so ACM like was taking damage off the spikes, and as a result, he's going to have a little bit of trouble because he's low on health, and he does want to keep stone for the next hole right afterwards. So it's really important that I think he might game over here. Yeah, he's gonna game over here, or take a death. Not game over.
Yeah, hopefully not. So do you are you limited to like 1 damage taken from spikes per shot, or how does that damage system work?
It's just like you take 1 like tomato of damage.
Okay, every single time you hit him, even if
Yeah,
it's
every single
multiple
time you
in
hit
the
it.
turn?
So
Oh, jeez, brutal.
the way that this game like calculates shots is that if something, like for example the Gordo, can run into you, your shot won't end until it hits you.
Okay.
So you can actually get hit by Gordos. Like I've been like infinite comboed by a Gordo before. So that's like a
Do you have
definite
footage of
death.
that?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Dang. Yeah, that's kind of scary. I didn't realize the damage system worked that way. This game is pretty intense.
Yeah, so not only do you want to avoid obviously dying, but to be at low health, you have to sit through this crying animation.
It's so annoying.
Alright, let's see what ACM does on. He's gonna go the safe way here.
I was hoping one or the other would go for the super fast strat.
But this is sort of the intent, which is to land on that conveyor belt.
Okay, so that's still a 2-shot hole essentially.
Yeah.
Or a 1-shot in this case.
It might have
Right,
actually
hold
been
on.
faster than a Rob Dog.
I'm glad we at least got to see the hole-in-one animation.
Yeah, I think ACM might have the most hole-in-one so far. So he's winning in that regard. We only have a few holes left here for Rob Dog. He's getting pretty close to the end. He's actually having a really good run, I think. A couple little slip-ups, but...
Yeah, I think he should be on like 34 pace or so.
Yeah, that seems right.
So 8-7 is a very scary hole. You have to run off the slope at just the right height so that you clear the barrier, but then you're still low enough to grab the enemies. And so what he wants to do is that he wants to run into the tree because he picked up the fireball, so if he were to press B, he would just fly off the stage. And so the quickest way to get rid of, get out of UFO form in that case is like to bump into something. The only thing you can really bump into is a tree in this instance.
Good strat. I like it.
8-8 is pretty straightforward. It's sort of like designed to be a hole-in-one hole. So basically just like going through all the different abilities in one linear hole.
You got a hole-in-one. Who would have thought?
Pretty good.
Alright, so now we're on to DED. Apparently, how much damage you do to DED depends on how high you hit the body. So trying to go for the head the whole time. The best way of doing that is to do these bounce shots off of the wall. Otherwise, you'd have to wait for DED to approach you in order to do like a straight shot into the head. So time for Rob Dog's coming up soon.
How many hits does DDD take?
4 if you do it correctly. Yeah. 34:06. That's insane time for a race.
Yeah,
It's only 7 seconds off. Is
no big deal.
pretty good.
34
Alright.
No
Glad-
big deal.
He wasn't even sure if he'd be able to race today, so I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
So that was a good show. 7 seconds off record. Nice. Alright, I don't know what to say after that. I'm very impressed. Good stuff for Updog. Alright, now we got the real race. The new folks.
All right. So Jack is on 7-5, I want to say, and ACM is on 7-1. Benjamin is on 7-3 now.
Yeah, their race could very easily be determined by just making sure they don't lose the UFO at this point. Just saves so much time. Alright, so Jackazam is going into 5. CM, I think this is 4. Man's going into 4. No, ACM is on 3, I think. My mistake. Yeah, quite close. I'm not sure where other racers are at as well, but wouldn't be surprised if they're right in the same area. What do you think, SK, what do you think the most important thing is for a new runner coming into this game? Memorizing the route or just learning how to deal with different situations?
I would say like really like nailing down like which strats you're gonna do. Like, and just making
Yeah.
sure that you hit everything you want to hit in terms of like the really tight tricks.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
No,
and for a week,
Not a lot of time.
yeah.
Oh, Rob Dow's showing off now the strat that he couldn't get.
I know a few of our new runners basically did like no actual runs before, pretty much before the race. It was just mostly practice and trying to remember all the strats, so definitely adds up. Alright, so Jackazam's still in the lead of the remaining players.
All right, let's see how the first shot for him goes.
And yeah, this is a big one. I mentioned earlier, if you miss the shot, it's bad news. Okay, so he got it. That's
Yeah.
okay. He's in good shape. It's a scary one. One of the runners in yesterday's race missed that a few times and lost like a minute to it.
Yeah.
He actually had a pretty good time. It was a high 40, which is seems to be one of the better times among the new runners. He would have been in great shape had he not had that issue.
Yeah, the first shot of 8-1 can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, we'll see how our other two players deal with it. What do you think the hardest holes in the game are for a new player?
I would say like 5, 6, and 5, 7.
Okay.
Those ones are pretty tricky. I would say 8, 7, like 8-7 is also quite a tricky hole the first time around. In general, I would say like a lot of stuff.
Towards the end, probably.
Yeah, in World 8, like like World 8, some of them like they look easy on paper, but if you're like slightly off, like things can go quite poorly.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Jack still managed to get that wall deep.
Alright, so here we go. Bro Edge Man is taking his shot, and I think he's in good shape. Yep.
Nice.
Alright. So ACM, the pressure's really on him now. See if he can deal with it.
Yeah, so it's nice that Bertrand got that last enemy. It means that he's sort of facing the right way. Like, the way that you're aiming is sort of the closest enemy to you, and then like rounded to the nearest 45-degree angle. So they want to bounce off like to the left. So if they're pointing to the left or right, that saves like a couple inputs. Right, more hole-in-ones from ACM. Really swagging it out here.
I appreciate
his
it.
play style.
Really helps me out.
He did draw the best thinking face, so I'm not surprised.
True.
So I guess 8-7 is going to be the main potential wall that we're looking towards for Jack
Right.
Zam to possibly lose his position. I think the other ones are probably pretty fine, 5 and 6.
Hmm.
Oh, alright. That was the last hole of the course, so we're not going to see the animation.
Just that little snippet. That's not bad.
It's alright, it works out.
Alright, ACM took a little pause there. Wonder if he referred to the pace bin. Okay, so they all made the shot. That's good.
Yeah.
No issues like yesterday. I think Jackazam is in good shape. Only 2 more holes in the boss. Kind of expect him to get second, but not terribly sure how every runner is doing in this race. Yeah, he's having a really good run. Definitely gonna PB a little bit, I think.
Ooh. Yeah, unfortunately Jack was too high to hit those enemies. Now he's gonna have to do all these manually.
Yeah, that'll cost some time. He reacted pretty quickly though. You could tell he was really hoping he was just low enough, and he went right over the little Sparky just in case.
Yeah, so basically there's like this slope that you run off of, and you have to be in just the right part of that slope in order to get the right height. Ooh, let's see. Okay, so he wants to make sure he grabs Fireball before the hole, so that's what's going to be used. It's not like a super big time loss if you don't get it, but that's like the ability that you want to start the next hole with.
Alright, finally out of there.
Yeah, it's gonna be dicey if he didn't get that in. That would have been his last tomato.
Yeah, okay, so Jack is going to wait for DED to approach.
Yeah, every new runner I saw is doing this approach instead of the wall thing. I think they're just scared of going out of bounds.
I believe there's no randomness on the little DED things. And so at least for doing like the speed strat, you're guaranteed not to run into them. Alright, time for Jackazam.
Good stuff. And yep, that's second place, 44-19. Very good time for a new runner. It's definitely the best from a new runner we've seen, as far as I know.
Alright, ACM struggling with the same tornado movement as Benjamin was doing. Let's see. I think Benjamin is just gonna play it safe here. Yeah, he's just not even gonna worry about the UFO strat. Ooh, okay.
If anyone else is interested in learning how to race this game, is there like a Dream Course Discord, or do you just use the Kirby Discord?
Yeah, right now everything's just in the Kirby Discord. I wouldn't say that it's too active.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But Rob Dog keeps his pace spin up to date. So if you're
Cool.
looking, Rob Dog keeps his pace spin up to date. So if you're interested, you should definitely check that out.
Yeah, it definitely has all the information you could ever need for this game, so it's a good deal.
If it somehow doesn't, I think even Rob Dog's gonna be surprised.
Alright, so Bro Edgeman did lose a bit of time a couple holes ago, but I think he's in good shape. Probably taking third.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of the other three runners got the UFO height. Yeah, it's sort of a scary moment because it is pretty tight for something that's so close to the end of the run. All right, so Benjamin's gonna do the straight-on jump shot. Yeah, the ricochet shot is a little bit tight on timing, so I guess that's probably why the runners aren't going for it. Unfortunately, they do take that death right there.
It's not like pretty much guaranteed if you take the straight shot to get hit by one of those.
Yeah, like, oh, I guess you could like slow yourself down even more and like wait for the DD enemy to pass while you're in the middle of your shot. Yeah, time for Benjamin 46:55.
Pretty good. He actually submitted a time that was like 8 or 9 minutes slower than that, so he's probably
nice.
very satisfied with that time. Pretty good. Alright, only one more for ACM, just the boss. So all our featured players did quite well, I think. A couple little slip-ups, but they didn't really get terribly walled anywhere. I'm a little surprised, but definitely satisfied. This game's hard. Very easy to make things go way south.
Yeah, this boss music is so good.
Nope. And time for ACM. All right, 48:20.
Good stuff. All sub 50.
Excellent.
Kirby stream course. I'm glad we got some golf on the stream. Some Kirby. Some
That was
both.
pretty good. I was a fan. And hey, look, you know, these competitors may have finished 12 minutes behind Rob Dog, but they have an advantage over the remaining 16 people that are going to be in the playoffs that the others don't. So, hey, you never know how that might help you out. So with that, it's a pretty good segue. SK, any final thoughts if you want to say anything before you head out?
Not much. Just, well, I guess thanks for choosing Kirby's Dream Course. It's a very unique speedrun, and if you're interested, I'm sure you can let one of the runners know.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you very much, Swordsman Kirby, for the commentary. It was really appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll see you guys later.
See ya. So with that, we're done with the regular season. It's over. SpeedRunsLive Season 2, the regular season is complete. But
What do we reveal? We need to reveal something.
I know, right? Isn't this normally the time where we reveal a game? Let's just reveal the playoffs. How about that?
Okay.
All
We
right,
don't
so
even know the standings. What do we
that's
do,
true.
Dark Man? What do we do?
What do we do? So with that, we are heading into the playoffs. So we will be with the top 16 players that have competed over the course of the 9 weeks. And we'll be heading into the playoffs with that. So it will be a single elimination format. So Boney, if you want to explain a little bit how this format is going to work.
Yep. So yeah, 2 weeks from now we will start top 16, and basically it's just going to be best of 3 for each matchup. We'll do our top 16, I guess our 8 top 16 matches 2 weeks from now across Saturday and Sunday. And then the following weekend we will finish out top 8 and just crown our champion that Sunday. So 2 and 3 weeks from now. In terms of determining what games they'll be playing, we did kind of mention that basically every game in the season is equally relevant and equally important to one another. So I think we'll go into more detail when we actually start, but just to give you a picture of what it's going to be like, just to kind of think of how like Smash Brothers stage striking works. If you've ever seen a Smash tournament, it's going to be the same kind of thing. Basically, each player will ban 3 of the 9 games. They'll kind of take turns just picking a game that they don't want to play, whether they're not good at it or their opponent's really good at it, one of the two. And they'll just kind of take turns alternating removing games from the pool. And when they've kind of agreed on which 3 games they don't want to play, the remaining 3 games from that pool of 9 will act as their set of games to play. So it's really not about what their best games are or what their opponent's best games are. It's kind of about what their best 4th, 5th, and 6th of the 9 games are. And that's kind of how we're going to establish who's going to win the whole thing and win their matchups. Just who's the best overall of the 9 games we've seen so far. So they'll have about 2 weeks to kind of grind their games out. Maybe they want to learn some of the games that they didn't race in the first place, kind of catch up a bit, or they want to really improve upon games that they're already pretty good at. And it's going to be a lot about management in terms of what they practice, and maybe even some mind games, trying to trick their opponent into banning their games that they're not even good at. And
Ooh.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what people come up with. I don't want to get too much into it, but there's definitely some strategy behind here, and we'll see what people want to do. See if they
Yep.
make any big plays.
I'm curious to see if like some of the top 16 decide to like stream their practice, or they'll just be like, nah, I don't. I want people to just have the race data, and they just go
Yeah.
by that, and then all of a sudden, bam, they practice like their 6th best game, and all of a sudden they're a god at it.
Maybe they can stream some of their practice to bait their opponents into thinking they're good at some things, and then
There you
practice
go.
other things. Ugh, it's gonna be exciting. I don't know what people are gonna do. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of how the top 16 is gonna work. And 2 weeks from now, we'll get into that. So we do have an off week next week in that regard for season 2, but we have a lot more action coming.
Yep. So we are going to begin this on a Saturday. So we're going to do 2 days on each weekend. So June 2nd, June 3rd will be the top 16, and then June 9th and June 10th, those are Saturday and Sundays, of course, will be the top 8, and then all the way down to the champion, including a 3rd place match, because we do have prizes for the top 4 entrants. I don't know if we talked about that. So let's talk about the prizes again, Boney.
Oh, let's do it. All right, so we have a Steam library of games built up for them to pick from. Basically, a 4th place in the whole event. We'll have, I think, is it $25 worth of games to pick from our Steam selection. 3rd place will have $50 worth of games. 2nd will have 100. And 1st actually does not get any Steam stuff. They get a Nintendo Switch instead, with a Pro controller and a custom dock shield as well. So they definitely get a nice reward for winning Season 2. Rightfully so, because it's a lot of grinding to do in this thing to win. Got to learn 9 different games.
Yep. So yeah, those are going to be longer streams, so it won't be as short as the streams we have during the regular season. So expect like 5 to 6 hour streams. We'll see how it goes. It all depends, of course, on how the competitors do. After all, these are best of 3 matches. So if everybody does 2 matches, then it's going to take a lot less. But should definitely be longer streams. So we are looking forward to it. So not this week, but next weekend, starting Saturday, we will have some more season 2. But yeah, so that wraps it up for the regular season. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much, Boney, as always.
Yep. I do want to say one more thing.
Sure.
We are a little behind on our YouTube uploads for the season things, but we're going to get all those on there within this upcoming week. Monday through Friday, we'll put all our season 2 races on that channel. So you can catch all of those on there if you'd like to catch up.
Yep. And yes, once again, that is next week, June 2nd. That is the first day of the playoffs. So with that, I'm just going to kind of wrap up the show. Just kind of a few announcements. Let everybody know if you are interested in submitting a prize to Summer Games Done Quick, you are welcome to do so. We have a prize submission guide on our website, so you can check that out. We also have off-site volunteer applications. So, you know, our wonderful chat mods that you see on this in the chat, those are all volunteer positions. So if you are interested in that, we have applications opening up as well as for social media and Discord mods. So that will be opening up, excuse me, I don't have this ready, on the 25th. So it'll be May 25th to June 8th. So that's opening up very soon. So make sure you keep an eye on our website for information on how to apply for that. With that said, I believe that pretty much covers everything. We're going to go ahead and wrap the stream up with a solid rate. So let's go ahead and rate our good friends over at Mystery Funhouse. They're doing a mystery tournament reject tournament.
Oh,
so
no.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, there's some interesting games you're going to see there. They're pretty much in the semifinals. I believe they're wrapping it up today. So go ahead. We're going to go ahead and give them a rate. Check them out. Have fun. Say hi. And that's going to do it for us. We will see you 2 weeks from now.